Hey guys, guess what? I got some news. As you can probably tell by looking next to me, the shrimp are gone. They're out of here. Well, they're not fully out of here. The setup's gone. I still have the shrimp. I got them in an ice cream bucket at the moment. Pretty much, yeah, I kind of got bored with them. I mean, I like the shrimps. I like the planted setups. They look great. I love growing plants in general, whether they're aquatic or terrestrial plants. I like them all. But yeah, the shrimp tank just wasn't doing it for me, you guys. I like animals that are a little more interactive. So what I've done, I've converted this into a terrarium. Still got live plants in it, not many though. I'm keeping it rather simple, and I'll explain why in a sec. But pretty much I've spent the last week making this, and I will give you guys a closer up view of it and explain how I made it, and explain why I've only got a couple of simple plants in it. Pretty much I will be, in the next 1 to 2 weeks from now, I'm going to be getting a pair of white screen tree frogs. Now, for those of you who don't know, white screen tree frogs are one of the largest species of green tree frogs. They get about that big, roughly. Decent size. Those big fat green ones, you see them all over the internet, they're very common. But they're the most popular ones at pet. They're just very, very laid back and chill. They adapt to captivity well. They adapt to human interaction. They'll actually come up and eat out of your hand. So that's kind of why I want them. They're just a big frog that sits out in the open, will take food from your hand. They display really well. I've had frogs in the past. I've had dwarf green tree frogs. They were fine and all, but in all honesty, I hardly ever saw them. They just hid and they only came out when the lights were off, so it was kind of pointless. So yeah, that's kind of why I've done it. And I just kind of like the change anyway. I do change some of my tanks over every now and again, so yeah, I was getting bored with the shrimp. And honestly, I was getting very lazy with the maintenance on it because I have so many snakes and so many other things to look after. I wasn't enjoying the shrimp tank so much anymore, so I kind of slacked off on algaeing and water changing, and it just looked rubbish after a while. So it was just easier to do this. So pretty much, I made this whole thing from scratch. I made the waterfall, background and everything from scratch, and honestly, it was a complete pain in the ass. I probably won't be doing it again any day soon. It was actually a test of character, let's call it that. No, I used expandable foam, so yeah, excuse my reflection in the glass there, as I am filming in my room, so yeah, don't expect amazing photography. But pretty much I made this whole thing out of expandable foam. So you can see here, for example, that's the expandable foam. So pretty much what I did, I lay the tank down on its back. I cut bits of styrofoam out, which I would use as kind of a template for where I want these ledges to be. Like this ledge here was a piece of styrofoam. So what I did, I laid the tank on its back, did a layer of about 1 inch thick of expandable foam throughout the whole back of the tank, stuck my styrofoam ledges in where I wanted them to be, then added more expandable foam covering those. I was kind of generous with the foam. I let that set for a couple of days, and then I just carved away the shapes that I wanted to get this look. So you can see I purposely carved out little grooves for water to flow down, so it flows down there, trickles down into this little pool here, then down into the main reservoir of water, which then gets pumped back up by my little Eheim compact pump. I've even got a piece of PVC pipe which is completely immersed within the expandable foam. You can't even see it. My hose for my pump is running through that, so that's kind of hidden. And yeah, so I didn't just use expandable foam and that was it, because it's not really safe. I mean, there's different types of expandable foam. I've heard some expandable foams can be kind of toxic and can leach some chemicals into the water. You don't want that if you're going to keep frogs, because frogs do breathe through their skin, so they'll absorb any chemicals through their skin, and it could potentially kill them. So what I did to seal all this off is, once I was 100% happy with the shape that I'd carved out and I wasn't going to change anything else, I used a black silicone. Make sure it's a black silicone that is a neutral cure. So again, it doesn't leach anything out once dry. Pretty much I coated the whole thing in that First I went around the edges to completely seal it off. So go around the edges with your black silicone. And then I just coated the whole thing and rubbed it in, and then did another coat and rubbed it in. So it was a nice thick coat. There was absolutely no way any foam was going to be exposed to water. I did this sections at a time because you'll also notice I've got brown gravel here stuck to it. Pretty much when the silicone was still wet, I would throw brown gravel onto the silicone and let it sit again overnight, and that's the result you get. You then vacuum away the excess gravel and voila, it looks like rock. And the reason I kind of had to do it sections at a time is because the silicone dries quite fast. So if I was to do the whole thing in one go, by the time I was to start from the top and work my way down, yeah, by the time I get to the bottom, the top's dry and I can't put any gravel on it. So yeah, it's kind of a pain to make. That's why, again, I don't want to do this again any day soon. So I've only got 3 plants growing in here. I got these 2, whatever you call them, plants. I don't know, these house plants I picked up at my local Mitre 10. And I got a piece of my Taiwan moss that I got left over from my shrimp tank, which will eventually spread along the rocks, because Taiwan moss and various other moss species can grow both in and out of water. Provided again that it stays wet to an extent, so you notice there is water still trickling through it, so it'll still grow. You just don't want to put moss somewhere completely dry, because yeah, it will die. And the reason I've only got a couple of plants in here, and they're quite large leafed, kind of thick leafed plants that are pretty durable, is because the frogs I'm putting in are quite large, and any small little delicate plants will just get crushed every time the frog sits on them. So yeah, I don't want to go too crazy with plants. A few tough ones, I'll probably add more moss to cover maybe like this top section and this ledge here, maybe a few other areas, but that's it. And as I said before, guys, I do have my shrimp still. I'm going to keep them. They're going to go in the reservoir of water, so they can live in there. Hopefully. Might not work out, but we'll try them out and see how they go. I think they'll be alright. I mean, they've been living in an ice cream bucket for about a week now and they've been fine, so I think they'll survive. Also, guys, one other little thing I just want to update you on while I got you watching, is this beautiful little jungle carpet of mine. As you may remember, when I got him, maybe it was like, what, 2 months ago? A month ago? Something like that, between a month and 2 months ago. I think 2 months ago. I honestly can't remember. My concept of time is horrible. But as you may have noticed from the video that you may or may not have watched when I got him, if you haven't watched it, go back and watch it, otherwise you're not going to understand fully what I'm talking about. He was almost unhandleable. From the day I got him, yeah, he was just very, very cantankerous, very defensive. In the video when I filmed with him, I was handling him because I just literally tipped him out of the bag straight onto my hand, and he was kind of half out of it, being in the bag, being traveling for a while. But since then, putting him in his enclosure, he has just been the most defensive, snappy, strikey sort of snake. I haven't been able to lay a hand on him. As you can see now, I'm holding him quite calmly. I'm talking to you guys. I'm not too fussed about where he goes or what he's doing. Yeah, I've had him, let's just say 2 months roughly. Probably the last 2 weeks, he's just calmed down so much because I have been handling him regularly. I couldn't at first, like I said, for the first maybe, let's say, month and a half-ish. Couldn't really touch him. If I touched him, I'd get bitten. I couldn't even get my hands near him, and if I did touch him, I'd get bitten. And like some snakes, they're snappy at first when they're in their enclosure, then you get them out and they're fine. This guy was an exception to that case. He would just continue to be ridiculously snappy even after I'd gotten him out, which I'd have to use a snake hook to help at least assist me get him out before I could put hands on him. But yeah, I was handling him maybe, I don't know, 2-3 times a week, something like that. And he's gotten used to it, and yeah, as you can see, he is perfectly calm now. And people always get to put off keeping jungle carpets, or a jungle jag for that matter. I mean, very similar in temperament. And as you can see, they can be handleable. And as you saw literally roughly 2 months ago, he was not handleable. And look at him now. I can dangle him in front of me, put my hand here, you know. I can quite easily play with him. I can even pat him like that. He's not even coiling into the S shape. He's just stretching out to climb for the camera. He doesn't really care. Now he's stretching straight up. Trying to climb on my ceiling fan, aren't you? And, I mean, perfect example right here. You would not catch me doing this with this snake a couple of months ago. I wouldn't want him anywhere near my face. There's no way I'd trust him. Now I couldn't care less because he's shown me that he's completely calm with people now. To a degree. I mean, it is still a snake. It is still a live animal. It does still have a mouthful of teeth. It can potentially bite whenever it wants. I still have to show it respect and treat it for what it is. I'm obviously not going to do anything stupid with it, but I mean, putting this snake around my neck right now, I'm not that bothered, where before I couldn't do it. Well, could have done it, that would be stupid to do it. But yeah, I'm really happy with how this guy's gone. I mean, he's tamed down really well. In a very small amount of time. It honestly caught me off guard. I mean, I knew I could tame him down, but I thought it would take much longer than, you know, a month and a half or 2 months. And it was just like that. One day he just woke up tame. So, yeah, it wasn't even gradual. Just one day he decided, I'm not going to bite anymore. So yeah, pretty damn happy. Which I'm glad because, as you can see, he is an absolutely beautiful snake. It's a shame that I couldn't hold him before. I'm so glad I can hold him and interact with him a bit better now. What are you doing? He's obsessed with my ceiling fan. You don't want to go to that, it's on. Still haven't found a name for this one yet. So yeah, that's the next thing I gotta figure out, I guess. And I am still looking for a female to pair up with this one. So maybe next year you and whatever female I pair you up with can produce some babies. That would be nice. But it just goes to show that just because a snake's a little snappy when you first get it doesn't mean that's how it's going to stay. Sometimes they're snappy just because before you've bought them from wherever you've gotten them from, they've already been moved around a lot from one place to another and they're stressed. Or even if it is, say, like a jungle carpet where they're known for being a little on the snappy side, just by nature, doesn't mean that that's how it's going to stay. I mean, as you can see, this guy, in a very short amount of time, he has calmed down just from me regularly interacting with him. He's gotten used to my presence, I guess, and being touched and stuff. And look, it's perfectly fine now. Sometimes you just got to stick it out for a few months and put up with them not letting you touch them and have to use a snake hook and whatever. The key is to make sure every interaction with you isn't a stressful one or a potentially bad one for the snake. That's the key with building trust with any animal, really. A lot of people do it with monitor lizards and various lizards, as well as snakes, I suppose. You don't want interactions to end badly because they don't forget that stuff. Like, if I was to, even little things, like if I was to go put him back in his enclosure now, and I was to do it in a very careless way, where I kind of just rushed and threw him in the enclosure and he smacked his head on something or he smacked his tail on the side of the enclosure and it maybe hurt him a bit or something like that. Even something small like that can potentially, you know, they associate that with being handled by people and they become more defensive the next time you go to pick them up. So you've got just little things, like I always make sure when I put my animals back in their enclosures that I don't forcefully put them in, I let them crawl in by themselves. I don't, you know, rush them like, you know, some people will put the first half of the snake in the enclosure and it just crawls in, but then they start kind of grabbing at its tail and, you know, pinching its tail to make it hurry up. I don't do that because they obviously don't like it. That's why they flinch from it, which, yes, it makes them go in the enclosure faster, but they don't like it. That's why they do it. And they associate that with you every time you hold them, with being held. It's not a good thing. So, you know, I try to make every time I interact with my animals a good one, or at the least a very minimal stress one. So that's kind of the key, I think, to building up relationships with animals, or getting animals like snakes more tolerant or used to being handled and not associating any sort of fear with being touched from people or anything like that. So I think with that kind of attitude you can get most snakes relatively used to you to an extent. I mean, there are individual snakes that just can't, you know, they don't want to calm down. Doesn't matter what you do. Some species are more prone than others to just being a bit more aggressive. So, but out of the pythons, I think the jungles are up there with one of the snappier ones. So, yeah, he's calmed right down, and I'm really pleased. No, I'm rambling. Sorry, guys, but yeah, I'm just really happy. This is one of the snakes that I really wanted to get tamed. Like there's others I've got. I'm not fussed if they don't tame down, so I don't really put much effort into taming them because I'm not bothered if they stay a bit snappy. But this one, I really wanted him tamed because I really wanted him to be a handleable snake. Also, guys, with my terrarium that I just set up that you saw, as I said, I will be getting frogs within the next 1 to 2 weeks, hopefully. So I will keep you guys updated on that as well, and I'll do a little video about frog care. Because even though I'm only just getting these frogs, I've had green tree frogs in the past. So I'll be doing a little frog care video at some point after I update you guys on, you know, me getting these frogs. I'll do a video releasing them into the tank, show you how they're doing, I'll show you a video of them feeding, all that sort of stuff. So that's the next thing to come from me. And I'm going to leave it at that, guys. It's just going to be a quick video. Make sure to give us a like and a subscribe. Hit the post notification bell. You know the drill, guys. Instagram, Twitter down below. You want to follow me there. That would be much appreciated. See you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.